Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Prisha Evans. I am your Math Elementary Limestone consultant, and joining me today is Jackie Decker, who's going to be helping me man the chat box there. Before we get started, just a little housekeeping things. Mute your microphone, turn off your camera. I think most people have done that. And just make sure that you have made a copy of the slide deck, which can be found right below. We will be looking at links. So this is the slide deck for grades 4 to 6. And then also, if you've not registered for Mathematics Minds Online, we will be going to resources for that as well. So you can follow that bit.ly to register there. If you have any questions or comments about that, please, again, just put your comment in the chat box. Okay, let's get started. Before we get started, I just want to acknowledge that the Limestone District School Board is situated on the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee. We acknowledge their enduring presence on this land, as well as the presence of Métis, Inuit, and other First Nations from across Turtle Island. We honor their cultures and celebrate their commitment to this land. So today, our learning goals, we are going to just have this is an introduction to the new curriculum. And we're really going to focus on some of the resources available within the digital version. We're going to dig a bit deeper into Strand A, which is social emotional learning and the mathematical processes. We're going to highlight some changes to the curriculum and explore some Limestone resources that could support you and your students. So the new math curriculum was developed by Dr. Christine Sertam and her team from Ottawa U. This was great news. We have worked with Dr. Sertam in the past here in Limestone, and she's influenced our learning. The curriculum was also developed with input and research of other leading math experts from across Canada and around the world. As you go through the curriculum document, you might see connections to some of the researchers and leaders that we have at Limestone, again, associated with. As well, they used input from classroom teachers and workplace experts, and I think that was directly linked to the coding and the financial literacy expectations. One thing I was immediately excited about as I looked through this curriculum was how this new curriculum directly relates to the work that we have already begun over the last 4 years and longer here in Limestone, as reflected in our LDSB Vision for an Effective Math program. So as we go through the presentation today, and as you take time to explore this curriculum on your own, I'm hoping you'll see these links to our vision as well. So to start off, the curriculum online not only presents the expectations of what is taught, but it is very clear on how we approach teaching math. Included online in the resource section is a short document titled The High Impact Instruction Practices in Mathematics. It's a very short read, but I really encourage you to take a look at it. As you can see on the right-hand side, those are what is included within this booklet. And these are all strategies that we've been implementing and learning about in Limestone for a number of years. So when I first looked at the subtitles, I thought, yeah, we got this. This is no problem. But then I began to dig a bit deeper into it, and I was really impressed by the explanations of each and what they could look like and what this means for our math programming. So let's just take a look at, for example, direct instruction. According to this document, direct instruction is carefully planned to model, clarify, and extend thinking. It's used for students during direct instruction, students are engaged as the educator models, labels, questions, and checks for understanding. And direct instruction is used for guided investigation, for when students are having some practice time, giving feedback, and consolidation. So it's a little bit more detailed than I would have thought. As well, each high impact instructional practice is broken down into what this would look like in the classroom as students begin their understanding of a concept, are progressing with their learning about a concept, and as students are deep within the understanding of a concept. To me, that really makes it so that we're actually changing our learning goals. For example, learning goals, we might change those as students become more comfortable with the content that they know. So I encourage you to take some time to read this, as this is the model through which the curriculum is meant to be taught. The curriculum is divided into 6 strands. Strand A incorporates social emotional learning skills and the mathematical processes, kind of the how we teach. So the how we teach is also encompassing those high impact instructional practices that we just talked about. The other 5 strands tell us the specifics of what to teach. So you've got the how do we teach it, and then the specifics of what we teach. So we have number, algebra, which is going to include coding and also the process of mathematical modeling, data, which includes probability as well, spatial sense, which is merging geometry and measurement, and then finally, financial literacy. So we're going to take some time today just to really focus on the social emotional learning part, because this is new. So what I'd like you to do is take a few minutes and look at the social emotional learning within the document, which I'm going to show you in a second. And as you're reading that, I'd like you to think about strategies that you use in your classroom that are linked to each skill within the social emotional learning. Then we're going to go to a Jamboard and you can add your ideas there. So I'm just going to click here so you can see where I want you to go. Oh yeah, it did it, perfect. This is within the strands of mathematics. And if I just scroll down here, this is all about the social emotional. What I'd like you to do is keep scrolling, keep scrolling, and keep scrolling. Because just for right now, we're going to take a look at this social emotional learning skills. And these are the key components and sample strategies. So I'd like you to take a look, read this part, and really focus on the skills. They do have some sample strategies, but I think you might be thinking of things in your classroom that you already do to support these skills. So take some time to read them. And then when you are ready, I'm just going to come back to the presentation. I want you to think about the strategies that you use in your classroom that are linked to each social emotional learning. And then you're going to go to this Jamboard. And within the Jamboard, the first page is the questions. And then the second page, and second, third, fourth, and fifth, and sixth, and seventh are all the different skills. If you'd like to add a comment, and I'm hoping you'll add some comments, you just click on the sticky note and you write your message and then you hit save and it goes up there. You can move your message around, whatever you'd like. So I'm just going to go back here to make sure everyone, those are the instructions. If you have any questions or comments, please go into the chat and just ask there. And if you're having any access problems with the Jamboard, just let me know. Okay.
And if you don't have the slide deck open, that's fine. I've put those 2 links on the right in the chat as well. I notice we have a lot of great ideas on the screen about identifying and managing emotions. Just so everyone knows, if you use the right arrow at the top, you can go to the other screens for the other aspects of SEL. And maybe add some ideas there as well.
Okay, I think we're going to consolidate now. I just want to highlight a couple of things. So as I went through, there's the reason why we wanted to do this is we wanted you to think about that the social emotional learning strand A is something we're already doing in our classroom. So we didn't want you to really worry about what this looks like or what this is, and it's not something added on, but this is something that we're doing all the time in our classrooms. Maybe we just need to highlight it a bit more and really reflect on what this means for our learning and for our teaching in our classroom. So we've got some really great suggestions in here. And if you want to go back to it later, I might consolidate what the primary and junior intermediate at the end. Maybe I'll put all of them together because that way we've got a really range of supports that we can do in our classrooms to support the social emotional learning. I do love that at the bottom here, we've just got like start with the year with Jill Bowler's inspirational week of math. And I love that idea of starting our year on a growth mindset in mathematics and then thinking about how we continue this through the year. So what does that look like all the time so that we're building a growth mindset in mathematics? That may be a change to our feedback as opposed to giving marks. Does that mean that we provide feedback so that kids can have a growth mindset with them? I love the part about using talks, math talks, like learning, and I think that was mentioned actually in the next one as well. I'm sorry, I'm just going to skip through. Teaching about accountable talk. So how that actually, I think accountable talk can really support all of these, building our relationships, but also having that stress and sources of stress and coping with challenges, being able to ask someone a really hard question when you don't understand something. So that's a great skill that could be interchanged with all of them. Jackie, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I did. I liked how a lot of the ideas talked about how we begin. So like Joe Bowler's Week of Inspirational Math, or when we're giving feedback saying, I like how you did this, tell me more about that. But how it's not just how we begin, but how we teach every day. And so if we really want students to maintain that positive motivation and build relationships and communicate effectively, we don't just talk about it once. We are regularly collaboratively problem solving. We are regularly using open problems to give them something to creatively and critically think about. And so these are things that are embedded in our practice all the time. And I think when we reflect on what we're already doing, it gives us a really solid basis to then continue to build the tools that we have in the classroom to really make sure this is all embedded in our practice.
And I just want to go to the practice box also didn't write a lot about the developed self-awareness and sense of identity, which is actually really good feedback for us. Maybe that's something that we need to develop as a school board of what that looks like. I took it as a sense of identity of myself as a math learner, and some things that we're doing in our classroom that would make me feel like I'm a math learner. Maybe those are number talks that we do, and highlighting lots of different learners and thinking in our classrooms. I don't know. So that's good. I think everyone kind of struggled with that one in primary as well. So.
And if I can add to that one a little bit, Prisha, while we're there, I think about making sure that having students reflect on their learning regularly also allows students to develop that self-awareness as they continue to build their self-confidence.
Yeah, and I've been talking a lot of adults about their math and how they've been feeling about their own math learning. And I have lots of friends that say, well, I just can't do math. And I think if we teach math through the social emotional learning and the math processes and using those high impact practices, I think we're gonna have a new generation of math learners that hopefully will say, I got this, I can do math. So we're gonna go back to the slideshow. If you are not already there, please click back onto it. And we're just gonna keep on going. I'm just gonna get back into my, sorry, 2 seconds. The next thing we're gonna take a look at, we're not gonna spend a lot of time on mathematical processes because this isn't new. We already had this as part of our old curriculum. But the link, if you'd like to take a look at, that is a live link if you'd like to dig in a little bit deeper on those math processes. But I do want to highlight just a couple things you might notice. The math processes curriculum, more detailed description, include things, explanation of what it's like in your classroom, which I really appreciated. They also, some processes and skills, like proportional reasoning or estimation, asking students to show us using concrete materials, which were once part of specific expectations, are not necessarily mentioned as specific expectations within this new curriculum, but they're mentioned in the math processes. And therefore, I think that means that students, we still need to do them. And so we still need students to practice estimation, even though it's not a specific expectation, it is a skill that will support all the rest of their math learning. So just because it's out, take a look at the mathematical processes, maybe highlight some of those skills and processes that we still need to incorporate into our everyday learning. Okay. Just some key points about assessment and evaluation. So new, and I think most people know this, that there is only one mark on the report card. This mark encompasses all the learning taught, including strand A. And like before, is through the triangulation of, so it's new that it's just one mark, but it's the same that it's through the triangulation of data. I'm just going to read the comment here because what is written in blue right here is taken right out of the document. So students' application of the social emotional learning skills and mathematical processes must be assessed and evaluated as a part of the achievement of the overall expectations in each of the strands for every grade. So this means that we are assessing and evaluating through the strand A. You might need to do a little bit of learning about it together as the year goes. I also want to comment on the report card. There's no specific number of strands per term. The ministry statement was that you are all professionals, you know your students, you will do the best for your students and teach the curriculum. So that's it. What is the same is growing success still guides us with assessment and evaluation guidelines, and achievement parts are the same as in the previous curriculum. So now we're going to just take a quick look, and I'm sorry, I'm going to move this down, at the, oops, sorry. I'm going to unpresent in a second, sorry. We're going to take a quick look at specific expectations. This is within, so if I click on this, this is within our K-12 mathematics, Minds Online. So I'm just going to click on it to show you how to get there. But if you can't get into it, the link is on the slide that I just wrapped, sorry.
And
so,
it's in the chat as well.
It's in the chat as well. So I'm just, if you are new to Minds Online, I'm going to click elementary. And under elementary, there is a lot of resources in here. I'm just going to kind of slowly, you can see on the left-hand side, all of the supports that we have put in place. At the very top, though, is the new math curriculum. As we create or have resources available that support the new math curriculum, this is where we will house them. For example, right now, I think Mistine Clapp and Jesse Lalonde are presenting on the new coding aspect of the new math curriculum. They have worked for the last month or so with just minimal help for me about the new coding, and they've created a really amazing document to support educators, starting with grade 1 all the way to grade 8. Explaining the curriculum, terminology, and easier way to. So that will go there. Today, what we're going to look at is the curriculum. So I create these charts. They are my interpretation. If you feel like I've made a mistake, please let me know. They're live links. I can change them, or we can have a conversation about it. So I'm just going to open. I'll just open grade 5. You should be able to view it. So the first, and I'm just going to move this over too because you can't see the bottom of my. Oops. Why isn't that moving? Oh, there we go. So this first page is on the social emotional learning. And again, it's like, these are the skills so that they can apply the math processes. As they apply the math processes, so they can, and so it's extended like that. It goes all the way down. If I go into number strand, what I have here on the right-hand side, whatever's in blue is a new expectation, or it is altered significantly. Yellow is completely gone, and orange is a change or variation in the number or action, which the orange actually changes on the different strands based on what we're doing. The left-hand side is the new curriculum, right-hand side is the old curriculum. I'd like you to notice as well that the number, so the overall expectations are the same from grades 1 to grade 8. So whatever you're learning as an overall, the expectation is the same. It's a specific that change. And I'll just kind of go down here. You can see some things that are already out, some things that are new. So what I'm going to go back to the presentation because what I'd like you to do, and we have about 10 minutes, so it's just a quick look, and I apologize about that. I'd like you to go into that curriculum changes, take a look. Maybe not everyone focus on number, otherwise we're going to have a list of just number. And then I want you to go into the Jamboard. The Jamboard we were just in. So I'm just going to open that up. And if I go to slides 9, I just need to put in some changes that you notice. So if you could just kind of write down some really quick things that we noticed, we're going to just highlight these for ourselves. And if our page runs out, there's lots of room on page 10, 11, and 12. If you have any questions about that, please put it in the chat box. I'm just going to go back to here. Actually, and if you have problems getting into the Minds Online, this is a link right here within your presentation. Okay, have fun exploring it. Okay, so there are lots of changes within the junior program. A lot of the changes are actually around some of the change of grades. So some of the expectations that you used to teach in grade 6 are now actually in grade 4 or 5. That's been a bit of a change, and some expectations that are completely out. Some of the key points that I wanted to highlight are the math facts. So math facts is new, it's under number sense. But I just want to point out that within the description, it is taught through fluency and flexibility. We want to make sure that we are providing students lots of opportunity to work with numbers flexibly and fluently, and to build their automaticity. We don't want to go back to memorizing math facts. We still want to build an understanding through what we know are best practices. You might notice that fractions have changed quite a bit. You might want to take a look at that, adding and subtracting fractions. And someone wrote that comparing to benchmarks. That's a really good point, that it's not there and specifically within the curriculum, but comparing to benchmarks is probably like one of the is a skill our students need to know for understanding numbers. So that actually goes back to the principles of number and supporting that. In algebra, there's a whole new idea about solving inequalities. So that is new. In data, we've got some infographics from grades 4 to 8. Students need to make infographics, read them, build them, interpret them, etc. There's definitely some changes in the measurement or spatial sense around what shapes we're looking at when we are measurements, changes in angles. So take a look I know I only gave you about 5-10 minutes to look at that document. It's pretty intense, but if that helps you see what are changes, I hope it does. And I'm going to go back to, and Jackie, do you have anything to add there?
The only thing I would add there is when I first saw these documents that Prisha had created, I had two reactions. My first reaction was, these are incredible. She's done so much of the thinking for us to help point out the most important things we need to pay attention to. So I was so appreciative of that. And the other thing I noticed was I got overwhelmed. And so I had to go away and come back a number of times to dig in. And I think you have to give yourself permission to, look at a strand and think about it and go away and come back. Because every time I come back to it, I see more about the curriculum. So it's not something you have to understand right away, but it's a document you can continue to return to. And Prisha's given you a link to her document. So if we need to make changes, if we see things that need improving, then you will get those live updates by going back to that document.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out, because I've already, as I've done just this week, I was reading even more in the curriculum, and I thought, I should probably change a couple of the wording, and so I did. So yeah, they are changing and keeping up to date. Okay. Now we want to just take a look at, we thought, now that you've had a chance to take a look at some of the changes in the curriculum and thought about the social emotional learning and the mathematical processes, we want to think about how some of the connections that we have to resources that we've already made for you in the K-12 math resource in the Minds Online. So if you're thinking about your social emotional learning and thinking about what activities I could actually use, we have some suggestions here. For example, fluency games and activities. I actually think that might not only reflect the identify and manage emotions, I know some kids get a little emotional in playing games, but also maybe maintain positive motivation and perseverance, keep trying something. So each one of these is a live link. I'm just going to click on the fluency games and activities. That'll take you back into the Minds Online. We have a tab here. It's pretty far, it's not too far down. And then if I click on, say, I can think about whatever game and activities my students need. So for example, junior intermediate, I might be thinking about maybe the multiplication and division strategies or the addition subtraction strategies. I've got some idea, I want to work on the community property. And these then is a definition of what that is, but then some games that will support it. And if you click on the game, it takes you to the instructions. Everything is included there. Everything that you need is, besides dice, is there. So if I take a look at that resource again, all of these are live links. We encourage you to take a look at that, go into them, think about how maybe you can incorporate some of these in your classroom so that you can support the social emotional learning aspect. Coming soon. So already, just on Friday, the ministry added teacher supports within the specific expectations that included some definitions for some that were in the previous curriculum, some explanations of some key concepts, and just a couple of examples, not a lot, have been added just yet. I do know that they're going to be adding some long-range planning resources, and I'm assuming some sample tasks as well. And as soon as those are, we will release them. When you go into the curriculum, you might notice a lot of these are under the resources. If you're looking for the paper copy of the curriculum, it's in the downloads, and then in the curriculum context is where you'll find the specific expectations. That's it for today. Maybe if you have any questions or comments, you could put them into the chat box, and Jackie, you could keep an eye on that.
For sure.
Thank you for coming today. And please feel free to reach out if you've got questions or comments. And we hope that this was helpful.
And there's a question about the K-12 resource update. So if you are registered for the K-12 math resource, you'll notice, Prisha, can you open yours for a second since you're presenting? Can you just go into the K-12 math, and mine's online? And do you see the little bell at the top of Prisha's screen and how it's got a little dot? If you click on that, any updates will come there. So you'll notice in another course that Prisha's registered for, the one that I used this morning, I put an announcement in, and so she got a little notification. So that will happen. I'll put an announcement every time that we post something new. So if you scroll down, Prisha, you'll notice there was, I actually highlighted the new math curriculum resource that Prisha had done. So that's where it pops up for you. You can actually go into your settings and have those notifications sent to your email if that's something you want.
And we do have our vision right on the front page, if you want to take a look at that as well.